Hi guys, it's Kiana again. Click the thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell. Bye!
You are now listening to the Re-Education Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back. Like I say all the time, you already know what you're listening to or what you're watching, but I'm Simone and this is the Re-Education Podcast. I have a couple of guests with me today and we're going to have a really entertaining.
Oh yeah.
Might be a bit of, I think beef might fly just a little, just small, but I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Chima. I'm a teacher. I'm Nigerian, and I'm a proud father of 2 boys.
I'm Lav or Lavena, how are we going to call it? I'm also a teacher as well, but also have my own weekly debate show called TruthsDebates that streams live on the Instagram every Monday between 8 to 10. Have different topics that discuss every week. Some a bit serious, some a bit funny. Just a mixture. Have an adult discussion and talk about certain things about life.
Welcome back. Lavena's been on season 1 of the Re-Education Podcast. Had 2 episodes.
Listen, I've got to come back. Just like Arnie says, I've got to be back. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to come back season 3. I'm going to be back on every season. Get used to my yeah?
Yes. In Jesus' name, you will. You will.
Amen.
So, Lavena, Chima, thank you for coming on this episode. I mean, I'm excited and I feel like I know what's coming because Lavena, you really put me on the hot spot on Truth Debates when it was all about food. Yes, you.
I would never do that. Can't you see the halo? That's why I'm wearing yellow today. Can't you see the halo?
Listen, people, it's on Instagram. Yeah, head over to Truth Debates 2020 and you'll see the food conversation, part 1 and part 2. Lavena, you put me on the spot. You made me choose between both of my backgrounds, and I felt cornered. I felt judged too.
Listen.
Yeah.
You
were one of them that was judging me in the chat, yeah?
Yes, your passport. We took your passport off of you. We revoked it.
Oh,
I don't know if I should give it back to you. I'll be honest.
Let's see if I can redeem. Let's see if I can get it back in this conversation.
Okay.
Let's see. So you may have guessed it, guys. We're going to be talking about food and identity, what it means to us in our cultures. Now, it took me a while to kind of configure the questions because I'm half Nigerian, half Jamaican, which means I've experienced many different foods, some the same type, but cooked differently. However, I've never just drawn to one over the other. I like a mixture, but I wanted to have more than one person from different backgrounds from the Black community, because I didn't want to feed into, that a stereotype of all one Black person can just represent us all, because Black people are spread far and wide across the globe. And, we create a range of dishes, really. We use the same ingredients some of the time as well, but the dishes always come out differently. So, Lavena, I'm going to start off with you.
All right.
I want you to share what your background is before I ask you the first question.
All right. So my background is Jamaican. So both parents are from Jamaica. So I have that West Indian background. So used to the Caribbean kind of cuisine. So I come from just that background where you embracing like foods, party food might be like curry mutton, jerk chicken, fried chicken, and then you have home food like where it could be the oxtail. You could have ackee and saltfish or steamed fish. So just a range of different types of food.
Yeah, I mean, parties are lit when it comes to chicken households. I say parties, just Sunday dinner is lit. Like I can't. There's no describing it. But you've shared about your platform that is Truth Debates, and that you have different topics of discussion. One of them I mentioned was around food.
Mm.
Can you tell us when you hear the words food and culture or food and identity, what does that mean to you?
I think it's like a way of representing where you're from. It's like a unity, whether it's not only just like your immediate family, but just as a people, really. Like it represents like a culture. So I think food is what brings people together. Sometimes not always in a happy togetherness. It could be like of a bereavement, like a funeral, but food is always something that is a heart of that. It's there, it's a part of it. The same way with like music is a part of it, like food is a part of it as well. Going down to like you said, like with African and Caribbean food, like we have similar ingredients, and even with the cooking of it and the preparation of it, and even going to the market, picking the meat, picking the fruit, the veg, whatever it is, like it's all like comes together with it basically. And it's just that different culture, that identity of how we stand out from other cultures and other races.
I like that, because we really, like, people in the Black community and somewhat the Asian community as well, we shop in the same types of places. We are picking up the same ingredients. We're just making it very different. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I'd call myself a foodie, not more than a couple of my other friends, because I mean, food is life for them. But I like the fact that I have two different backgrounds and ways of eating and celebrating with food. That it really adds to like who I am, and I can include my children in that, and I think that's just even more like rewarding with our cultures and our identity. Thanks for sharing, Lav. So Heritage, what is your background?
Okay, so I'm Nigerian, and food for me is everything. So you mentioned being a foodie. Look at me. I don't even know if I'm looking in the right place. I am a foodie. For me, it's that people eat to stay alive, people eat for diet. No, I love food. So yeah, it's a big part of my identity. Just to touch on that, so the reason I'm called Heritage is because my page is actually called Heritage by Cruise on Instagram, and that's actually linked to heritage, and food, which we're going to get into, is actually a huge part of that, which a lot of people may not know. But yeah, so I'm Nigerian, and food is part of my heritage.
So tell me what you would associate certain Nigerian. Sorry, hold on. Which tribe are you from, my friend?
Okay, Igbo. I'm from Rivers State.
Hey.
You just want your passport back.
I'm happy. Tell me what you associate certain Nigerian dishes with. I mean, just to throw an example out there, like I would associate pepper soup with New Year's Day or any form of like big function that we're having.
Okay, I'll start with that. Yeah. So pepper soup literally is that. Pepper soup's the function dish. Pepper soup's the celebration dish. So for me, it's funny because actually that's the thing that I have the least in terms of on a day-to-day basis. Because my mum actually 2 days ago rang me to say, she rang you didn't pick up, I cooked pepper soup. So it's almost it's a dish that's linked to occasion, or it's something that we don't eat on a daily basis, but when you do eat it, it's pretty special.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
if I know that there's and then you can have goat pepper soup, but there's also people make fish pepper soup as well. I mean, I'm all about the meat, so give me goat pepper soup any day, anytime. I will destroy.
It's being a foodie makes no difference to me. It makes no and I can eat pepper soup with Gary, and that's really weird to people. I don't what's wrong?
No, go ahead.
Remind me what Gary is again. Remind me what Gary is.
Okay, so the best way to describe Gary or the food I eat. So I eat pounded jam a lot. Okay, so the soup or the stew, depending on what you want to call it, that's something separate. The pounded jam or the Gary is what you dip into the soup or stew, and then you eat it. Okay, so Gary. So there's ground rice, Gary, amala, pounded jam, or eba, whatever you want to call it. The stew and soup is something separate, which forms part of the dish. Yeah, but usually with pepper soup, people just usually have the soup. Whereas I have it with the other substances. So I think for me, but that comes from my dad. That's something that was passed down to me. My dad ate it with everything. So
I'm curious to know, when you have and pounded yam or Gary, do you put it all in one bowl or do you have it separate?
No, for me it's separate. I couldn't mix it together. That's something completely separate to me.
Yeah, no, I have some of my cousins, one in particular, she will have it in one bowl and then with a spoon.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting, the food I eat, the connection I have with the food is actually quite physical as well as emotional, as well as mental. So just the fact that I get offended when I go to restaurants and they ask me if I want cutlery, I find that offensive. So for me, there's something about feeling my food, physically feeling it with my hands. So yeah, but with pounded jam, eba, Gary, soup, pepper soup, there's something I have to use my hands for it.
Does that mean you eat the soup with your hand as well?
Yes. Yeah, so pepper soup, because it's a.
You got to remember, now this is where the Jamaican is coming in. Like when we say
we forgive you, Lav. We forgive you.
When Jamaican people say soup, when people say soup, it is literally a drinking thing.
Yeah.
Use your hands.
Okay, so Lav, with
get the dumpling out and like
not like that.
So Lav, pepper soup is thinner. So pepper soup literally is more soup form, whereas the other soups, whether egusi, okra soup, they're a bit more thicker. So you can call them. Some people call them stew style soups. Wow. But when I say feel, so with pepper soup, even though I still use the ball of Gary or pounded jam or whatever I have with it, with pepper soup, you need to be fair a spoon because it is thinner. So I'll still kind of dip it, but I do still need the spoon to eat with it. Just that dish because it is thin.
So it's like a thick kind of gravy sort of texture.
Gravy?
No, but I mean the texture.
I'm only joking. Yeah. No, I'm only winding you up. Yeah. So you know that chicken soup, Lab? So you know that chicken soup? So imagine chicken soup. Okay, the best way to this is where I'm going to speak about Caribbean soup now. So chicken soup, when you've just cooked it, there's a lot of liquid. But maybe perhaps when you're getting more nearer the bottom where the yam and the dumplings absorb the liquid, it's a bit thicker.
Yeah.
Pepper soup is the thinner part of that. You know, like when you've just cooked it. It's the thin. Whereas the other stews tend to be the texture of maybe towards the bottom of the pot, where it's a bit thicker.
Right. Okay. I get you. I get you. Okay.
We gonna make you try some soup. We'll start you off with the legacy soup. That's the simplest one. You can't go wrong. And I only my preferred accompaniment with soups is always ground rice. My gran always made ground rice for me, always, without fail. Even when she made okra soup, they would want to have that with Gary. I would never. I don't know.
That was my.
There's something about the flavor that just, I can't. I can't eat that. I would never. Never. I'm sorry.
It's really weird, love, because you see ground rice, like, and this is what's so interesting about food and relationships, because so love, ground rice is so imagine rice and peas, but imagine, this is my definition of ground rice. Imagine Uncle Ben's packet.
Oh my God.
Rice and peas. Oh, let me explain. Let me explain why I say that.
You are not going to listen to my ground rice.
let me tell you why I say that. Because, love, when I was younger, my mum used to make. So I never grew up on snacks.
Okay.
And I think this is also linked to my relationship with food. So I never grew up on snacks. So my mum would go to work, and we wouldn't eat until she got back, but she would always cook. So we didn't have the luxury of snacks and stuff. But I think I associate that period of hardship, because we used to eat ground rice then. So for me, it's almost like poverty food. Because that for me, no, seriously, because for me, I remember just times being hard. I haven't eaten ground rice since I was a kid. So in my mind, I associate that dish with sort of hardship, if that makes sense. So it's just interesting, kind of the relationship you have with, certain dishes, if you know what I mean.
Because I would say that about Gary, like, because they will eat Gary cold with water and sometimes put peanuts in it. Yeah, nah, I ain't doing that.
Like how some Caribbean will say corned beef and rice is like poor man's food.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah.
When I was in Nigeria, just gone Christmas, that nobody was cooking with ground rice. Everybody was cooking with Gary. Like, that was the easiest thing, and everybody had that in their house. I was like,
okay,
not even one. Is no one even just gonna make their hand and pound a yam? Like, I can't eat this. So I didn't have no soup the whole time I was in Nigeria. I never got any.
You went to Nigeria and didn't have any soup
because there was no ground rice or pounded yam.
Love. But that's like going to Jamaica, and looking for a fish and chip shop. This is what I'm saying. That is the love. That's like going to Jamaica, Love, that's like going to Jamaica and not even having jerk. Like,
still had pepper.
Did you get a refund on your ticket?
I still had pepper soup.
Did you get a refund on your ticket? That's mad to me. That's
so I got a stamp in my Nigerian passport.
Okay. Because you know you can get that on eBay, right?
Or whatever. I knew it was going to be like this, Let me move on quick.
Okay, go on.
So I feel that we've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but do you both feel that food is a defined part of a culture or community?
Yeah. It's massive. Like, for me, it's huge. It's huge for me because I can't speak my language. I understand it, but I can't speak my language. And if I'm honest, I didn't realize how big of a heritage it was to me until I had my kids. Because when I started, so my kids are mixed, so they're half Turkish. So for me, I needed to address or really think about what can I offer them culturally. And so, I can't speak my language. And often, I would get people, my people sort of saying to me, oh, they need to speak. And I'm like, well, if I can't speak it, they're not.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of pick and choose what can I offer? So there was music, and there was food, just kind of being the two most obvious ones. So for me, food is massive. Like even down to like my son who's 5, he used to eat Gary with me when he was younger, more because he didn't really know what it was. He just used to eat it. He didn't even eat it right. He just used to chew it. But I think recently he started going off of it simply because he's very much into texture, into smells, and he's not too keen on spice. Yeah, so nearly disowned him, but that's another story. But anyway, joking. No, but what was interesting? So this weekend gone. So last weekend we went to my mum's, and she was cooking, and it was even to the point that she was eating in front of him, and he was watching her eat, and he was talking to her, and we tried to get him to try some, and he wasn't interested. But it was important that he smelt it. That's how big food is. Just even that smell, just the household smelling of a certain dish, for me, that's heritage, that's cultural, you know. So there's so much to food that it's not really just about what it tastes like, it's about the process, it's about the smell. So it's massive, and it's also nostalgic. You know, how many times do you smell something, and even if hopefully he grows out of it, but even if he never eats my favorite dish, when he smells it, he will always remember where he's from. And that's how I see food.
Yeah. No, I think food is definitely a big culture. Because my brother's kids are mixed, but they love Caribbean food. Like they only will always talk about my mum's food. Like, yeah, grandma's food is the best. Grandma's fried fish is the best. Grandma's dumplings are the best. Grandma's saltfish fritters are the best, etc., etc. And it is making them understand that culture. It's funny because my brother, his dad is Bayesian, and obviously in the Caribbean, like even though our food is very, very similar to one another, there are certain dishes that are different, or the names of foods are different. So for example, we have ackee, they call it Guinea. We Guinea, and they call Guinea ackee. So it's like it's back to front. Yeah, so it's back to front. So certain things, whereas like Jamaica, we be big in breadfruit. In Barbados, they don't like it. Like they look at it as like it's not really something that's great to eat, kind of thing. So they grow the same kind of foods, and we eat the same kind of food, but there's certain foods that we just don't really acknowledge from one another, kind of thing. So there's always that battle of like who's the best islands, etc., blah blah blah, and all this crap. The same with Africa, I suppose. Like you've got that divide with Ghanaian, Nigerians, etc. And it's with the food. But I think with food, though, in general, it does bring a togetherness, like in a community. But I think what is missing now in this day and age, like I feel certain foods is different. The taste a bit different. I think, especially with people that own like Caribbean shops or takeaway shops from the back, they don't, for me, like when you go to certain shops, they don't put the same kind of love into the food that you would have got years ago, if you know what I mean. Like, because I feel like when you're cooking, you have to put love into it, kind of. You have to enjoy cooking for it to come out good. Do you know what I mean? The same way if you're going to be like doing a task or you're going to plan a lesson, you're going to put that thought into it and that creativity for the lesson to be a good lesson to deliver. The same with food. If you want it to taste good, you're going to take your time in it. And I think nowadays, a bit of it is kind of going. So it's like, I think potentially like we're the last sort of generation to kind of still know what that old school kind of flavors should be like, kind of thing. I think the next generation is gonna start washing out. That's what I think. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's more convenient now to go to the chicken shop or go to the fish and chip shop or go into McDonald's or whatever.
It's interesting you say that, love, because actually I've noticed that from Caribbean shops. So I've also grown up eating Caribbean food. So my favorite dish is, first of all, African Nigerian food. Then it's been Caribbean. So that's kind of been my top two. But I've noticed that more from the Caribbean. And in terms of what you're saying about it dying out, I use myself for an example. I have no interest in wanting to learn how to cook only my dish. It's funny because I would be more interested in cooking Caribbean food than Nigerian food, simply because all I want to do is eat it. Like I don't want to taste my food and it's garbage. That will ruin my childhood. So I was just trying. So it's funny you say that, because actually, when you think about it, after me, or even if I think of my sons, that is going to die out, perhaps, if you know what I mean. So yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, because it's just like, and there's a lot of people that are like adults that are our age, a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger, can't cook. Like, can't cook. Yeah. Like, it was just like they really can't. Like, it's funny. Like, I was having a conversation with people in my department, I think yesterday or today, I can't remember, and they were saying, do you remember, what's her name? Yeah, it was yesterday. Nigella, that cook.
Oh yeah.
Apparently she was.
I saw that.
Oh, you heard about it? Apparently she's doing a tutorial about how to make toast. I was like, nah, make toast. Like,
is this
apparently
in the or in the grill? Because I'm confused.
Mate, I haven't watched the video. I need to still watch it. But my manager.
I've seen it. Have you
seen it? But they were saying, oh, they sprinkled a bit of salt, I think a bit of olive, like, and I just thought, toast.
In the toaster or in the grill? I'm confused. I'm still confused.
No, the video I saw, I didn't know whether it was toasted, grilled, or run over by a car. I don't know. I just saw bread in her hand, and she was literally explaining to people how much butter to use. So she buttered it, let it sit, buttered it again, and then sprinkled
salt, I think. Yeah,
and that was gourmet. And it was gourmet.
Gourmet toast.
Like, that was how it was being sold.
What was she eating that with? A side of I don't even know, some fancy.
Nothing, just
some fancy beans.
Nothing.
I said to my manager, boy, I picked the wrong career, boy. Because if you can get money to tell people how to make toast, listen, I picked the wrong career.
I have to do that because I actually can't believe that. I can't.
Yeah, so if you got things like that and you got big, like, chefs that are known in the UK giving tutorials of that, and then apparently there's been other cooks that have done boil an egg, I think fry an egg, like very simple dishes that you think you could just wrap up very quickly, like getting tutorials. So if you're thinking of that, then cooking a meal with where meat and rice and veg or potato or dumpling, that is going to be non-existent. Because some people can't even cook rice. There's people in my department that can't cook rice.
Well,
like, how do you not cook rice?
It's not easy.
There's Uncle Ben's.
There's Uncle Ben's. No, but you need to learn to cook rice. You have to learn to wash rice and take the starch out of the rice. And
no, but it's true. And this is this is the process I was speaking about.
Hold on, how old is
about?
How do it? Nigella.
It's saying that she's 60. Is a lie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she's 60 now. Yeah,
she looks good. She don't look it. It's that toast she's making.
Twice buttered toast.
Trust me. Trust me. but what I was saying is that when we speak about culture as well, like that process, and you mentioned about washing the rice, like I don't know what if my son, if they never wash the rice. No, but that is cultural. That is, and this is what when we speak about heritage,
washing food.
yeah, when we speak about that and relationship with food, they are the things that's what I'm speaking about. They're the things that are, it's tradition, it's a way of life, and that they're the things that you're making me want to wash rice this weekend with me. Like seriously, yeah. No, but seriously, because it's actually made me, because remember I just said to you that I don't cook African food,
Yeah.
but actually it's actually making me remember like these little things. So just even this conversation is reminding me of how we do things and the importance of actually upholding that, especially in a world where there's all these new ways, like you said, of boiling an egg. I think it's important that the foundation isn't lost, and food is a great way, and it's such a great tool for discussion.
It is.
Yeah.
Look at us now.
It's huge.
I kind of wanted to go back to what you mentioned around it's nostalgic. It brings you back to a time like maybe when you first had some a dish or a liquid, because you said that, Gary, your dad always used to eat it. He ate it with everything, and that's where you get it from.
Yeah.
And your relationship with food is deep. It's not just I want to say, because it's on the surface, it's like it's deeper, it's under the surface, and it has, so there's values there, there's a connection, there's something about food that it's a relationship, really. It's not just, like you said, I eat this to stay alive. And for me, ground rice always reminds me of my grandmother, and we called her grandmum. And it doesn't matter who was there, what people were demanding, my grandma would always make me my small pot of ground rice, and she'd sit there and watch me make these little balls with the ground rice before we both shared the soup together. And she'd always leave me my piece of meat, my stock fish, my cow foot if I was eating it at the time. Like, she would always leave me mine of everything on the side and wouldn't touch it. And those things, how I knew eating soup with my family was we would share. It wasn't you have your own bowl. Like, me and my gran would share a bowl of soup together. She'd have her Gary or whatever, and I'd have mine on the side. So it really does bring back the first time my gran made, when she taught me how to fry fish, was Easter. And my gran was rude. This is my mother's mum now. This is Jamaican. My gran was feisty. I remember her making me fry my fish last. So when I finished frying it, she said, "Yeah, man, you can take them one day." So she didn't even want to try the fish that I fried. It was like, "But grandma, we're doing this together." She's like, "Yeah, man, it's all right. You can take those. I'll keep these. You can have one of mine, but I ain't taking none of yours." But it's just things like that. I remember Easter will always bring me back to my grandma making fish functions. Can you put a curry goat, grandma? And she'd always, my granny is one of those that's quick to yam you with her mouth. Like, she's quick to give you attitude and I always used to say to myself, her bark is way worse than her bite. Like, her bite is non-existent. She has to have that moment of moaning. So whenever I make curry goat and I think of like functions like my kids' christenings and, birthdays, she would always say, no, I ain't doing it. Then I'll give her 5 minutes and she tell me when to bring the meat, where to go to buy the meat, and make sure that it's this size. But it really brings, it's weird how a dish, a certain type of food, when you're in the shop buying the food, it really brings your mind back. And there's something almost transcendent about food that takes us to where of almost euphoria, of memories that we've probably forgot that even existed. And it really like enlightens us and brings happiness. You can't eat a plate of food and be vexed. You can't cook and be vexed. My friend's
I beg to differ.
My friend's mum said, my friend said, yeah, my mum's not cooking today. I was like, why? She said, because she ain't in a good mood. Because if she cooks the food, she's going to poison us. I was like, whose mum says that? But I get it. Like, if you're vexed, don't go in the kitchen. Don't do it.
That example you gave, Simone, that example you gave is funny because my dad's not here anymore. But one of the things I remember was actually sharing just a bowl of soup with him and we both had separate Garys, right? And I remember us eating this dish in silence. No one spoke. We didn't speak. But that intimacy, I've never really, I don't think I've ever had that intimacy with my mum. That level of kind of that connection with no words, just like a mutual understanding. And also for me, we buried him in Nigeria. I haven't been back since. I buried him 5 years ago now. But when I eat, it always takes me home. So even the idea of when I eat that dish, because and it's funny because my mum, and whenever my mum confirms this, whenever she says, "You're just like your dad," she says, "What do you want me to cook?" All I always say to her is soup. You're just like your dad. So it's almost the idea of he also lives in me. And it's funny because even with my boys, my first son, that's the one dish. So he likes puff puff and he likes other things, but I only wanted him to like Gary. That was going to be the dish that we speak about girls, that was that idea of tradition. That was going to be the food that we speak about everything over. So it's that idea of it takes us to somewhere nostalgic. I don't think even music can do the same. Music works differently, but there's something very unique about food, about where it takes you to. So it's fascinating.
I'm curious to know, what would you say, Lavena, is your favorite dish from the island that is Jamaican? Yes.
I would say I do like oxtail.
No.
I do like oxtail. I do like ackee saltfish, but I have to be. It depends on what I have it with. Sometimes I have it with rice. Sometimes I have it with dumpling or so boiled or fried. And then sometimes I have it with breadfruit. So it just depends on what I have it with, kind of thing. Or if it's like, because normally traditionally we'll have it Christmas Day for breakfast.
Yep.
So on breakfast could be just a slice of harder bread. So it just depends on what you have it with. But yeah, I'd say I do like oxtail. Yeah, I do like oxtail.
Oxtail's nice.
Yeah, I think, but then it just depends on who cooks it. Like I'm very.
It's interesting because I would never know that. I wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, no, it's the texture. You can tell because some people like oxtail when it's like, I like it when it's soft, like it's succulent kind of thing. Yeah. But some people prefer it a bit harder, and for me it's like the texture's not right because some people put butter beans in it. So like I put butter beans. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like the butter beans are soft, so to have soft butter beans and then kind of hard meat, it doesn't
balanced.
Yeah, it doesn't balance right. But again, it's people's preference. It's same with plantain. Yeah, some people like it really black. I don't understand that. I really don't, because to me, you've just cremated like a wonderful side dish, which is just pointless. Like it's ridiculous. So yeah, but some people do actually. Yeah, I remember this guy was in years ago, and he tried to be like, "Oh, really nice." Try to surprise me, make me breakfast, and it was just he made ackee saltfish that didn't look right. Then
what did it look like? Scrambled egg.
wrong. It just looked wrong. But then it got worse. It got worse.
It got worse.
It got worse. It got worse. That's probably the best part of it. It got worse. He put a cider plant in, and the planting just was really it was destroyed. It was just burnt, like actually burnt. And then he had the audacity to serve it with Aunt Bet's roast potatoes, oven potatoes.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was probably, I couldn't eat it, obviously. I couldn't eat it. Like, I literally tried my best to eat as much as I could. But it was just like, I've never had roast potato and ackee saltfish, ever. I didn't even think it could go together because it doesn't. But
Nigella.
well, I don't think Jamie Oliver could get away with that one. I don't even think he could get away with that one.
Wow.
So, and that goes back to like the point I said previously. Like, certain people think they know what they're doing. So, you know, the point you just said about, you know, like, food makes you happy, and you know, you got, like, not all the time food tastes nice because not everyone gets it right. They don't know what they're doing.
Hi guys, it's Keanu again. You're listening to the Re-Education Podcast.